Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. This is Don Gertz and Greg DeMarco. We're here with Greg and Don's Excellent Adventure, and today we're continuing our conversation about sales, and today we're going to talk about sales follow-up. We've had a good time talking about different aspects of the sales conversation and where and how you should have it. And we're going to have some links in our video, either in the comments, or you'll see a link on the screen. And either one, just or both, try clicking on the link. But I'm here with my friend Greg DeMarco, and Greg has had an illustrious career as a yacht salesman, and my background is in real estate. And but we find that sales is sales. It's interchangeable, isn't that right, Greg?
Yep. I believe that 100%. I've sold boats, yachts. I've sold credit reports, online courses. I've sold a lot of different things, vacuum cleaners.
Pretty much the principles are the same. So today we
Yep.
want to talk about the importance of sales follow-up. So after you've asked for the order, Greg, and sometimes you don't always get the order. The person doesn't say, yes, I want to buy it, but they're delayed in making their decision. How important is it to follow up with that client?
Yeah. So that's a good question. I mean, follow up is extremely important, I believe. It's funny that I've had discussions about this as of late with clients and stuff, and I think a lot of them just don't want to do it for whatever reason. It's just kind of like something that lingers on, and they feel, what's the purpose? Well, I'll tell you what the purpose is. You've heard me quote Maya Angelou before, where she basically said that it doesn't matter what you say or what you do, it's how you make people feel that makes you stand out. Well, here's a golden nugget for you, what I've used in the past. If I was trying to recruit a new client, I'll put it that way, and if I didn't get the sale, one of the things I've always done after the sale is do something out of the ordinary that most salespeople don't do, which is reach out to them and thank them. What's really nice to do is a handwritten note if you have their address. But if not, I'll send them a nice email basically thanking them for listening to me and dealing with me, and that if anything ever changes, to please reach out. And you'd be surprised at how many of your competitors, if they're talking to them, don't do that. And you do stand out, and you can't imagine how many times where something goes wrong, but they'll remember you. Something goes wrong with the person they may be dealing with, or that the fact that you actually took the time to care enough to send them a handwritten note or even reach out in some form or another and thank them. But I used to do that all the time, and you get people, and I can honestly tell you that I've had sales because of it. So that's an important thing to remember. Follow-up is extremely important because it puts you front and center in the mind of the buyer, right?
Do you think that sometimes we're afraid to follow up with people because we don't want to hear them say no again? We feel that we're afraid of the rejection.
Yeah, maybe there was a personality conflict. Like, I'm not talking about like you hated each other, but maybe there was just something there, or whatever reason people have. It's because they don't like the rejection, right? But they don't realize that, how many times I've been front and center with a buyer or prospect, and they've said no, or they're not sure, or they're going to think about it. But okay, so that sale doesn't happen that day. That doesn't mean the sale's not going to happen. It just means that it might not be that day, but it could be in a week or a month or 6 months. But I've always kept regular follow-up with them. And that's the ticket, because they remember me. And most salespeople, if you're a salesperson, that's really important to know. But even if you're like, let's say you're a coach, or, you do some other kind of business and you're a business owner and you're doing sales, that is really important, because you wouldn't know or understand that possibly. It's important.
Yeah. We in an earlier session, we commented that people like to do business with people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. And do you think that if somebody doesn't make a decision, like there's different levels of sales. So I mean, if you're going in to buy a shirt, I don't know that there's all that much time that you need to think about it. Although I think my wife maybe has to talk, has to look at that shirt and then go look somewhere else for a shirt. I mean, if I go look for a shirt, I found the one I like and then I buy it, right? I mean, that's easy. I don't have to spend all day looking for one,
Yeah.
but some people like to shop, right? Do you think, and that, is that a harder one, or is that where you need more follow-up? Do you think like I said, like, I guess what I'm getting at is there's a difference in between buying a shirt and buying a yacht and buying a house. Although it's very interesting, statistically, and I don't know how they figure this out, but I've heard that in real estate, people will oftentimes spend more time picking out a shirt than they do looking at the house they eventually buy. It's really quite interesting. But anyway.
Well, I think it is interesting, but there it comes down to what do consumers, because we're all consumers. So what does a consumer really look for? And it always comes down to, whether you're buying a shirt. I don't care if you're buying a shirt or a house or a yacht or whatever. They want to know that, whoever's they're dealing with cares enough about them to help them get what they want, right? And do I trust them enough? I mean, how many times have I gone into, I don't know, a clothing store, if you want to use the example of a suit or a shirt or a tie, and I didn't buy. Now, this is me. It doesn't mean that everybody's like me, but if I didn't like the salesperson I was dealing with, I'd really have to like that shirt if I wanted to buy it. You know what I mean? I mean,
Totally.
it's more of a confrontational thing than anything. But if the salesman turns me off and they're really just looking for a commission, I just would rather, I can go to a different store and get this. It's not that important to me.
Yeah, that's where the follow-up then becomes really important, because you might not make the sale the day that particular day. Legitimately, somebody might need to think about different things, or they might need to check out the size or something else like that. And but then the follow-up is extremely important, where you stay top of mind awareness is the way we refer to it in real estate. So top of mind awareness is very important. It's not only important during the course of the sale, but even after you make the sale. How important is follow-up then after you make the sale?
That's even a better question, because I do a course on that in my training, my sales education, because people don't realize the first place I go to when I'm established and everything. When I first start out, it's a different story. You've got to build that list. One of your best prospects for getting new business are existing clients. It's kind of hard to go to an existing client and pitch them an idea on something when you don't keep in touch with them. They'll think that the only reason why you're talking to them is to sell them something else. That's why I continue. It's all about the buyer. You've heard this trendy term, buyer journey. Well, that starts with you. It doesn't start with them, because it's how you make them feel during the whole process, from when you started talking and met them to going through the collaboration of what their problem is and you solving it, to them buying from you, to them staying as a client, and then knowing what it is you offer in other areas. It's a whole buyer's journey, and it may seem like, oh my God, there's a lot of stuff to realize, but it's not. All you're doing is once the sale's done, for me, I send them, I have an automation of like a thank you and this and that. If I have their address and stuff, especially depending on how much they've spent or how, whatever, I'll send them a handwritten note. But I stay in touch, and I kind of schedule that out so that they know. And if I'm in the area, definitely, you don't think I'm going to, if I go to a place where I have clients, I always look beforehand, who do I know in that area? It's the first thing I do. I mean, it's different now than it was 30 years ago. Now we're sort of traveling, we're doing a lot of these Zoom calls, and it's social selling and relationship selling. That's what it means. So if I'm going to Atlanta, the first thing I do before I go to any place is look, what clients do I have in the area?
Who do I know?
Who do I know? Before I go, I'm like, hey, let's say I have 3 of them. If I can, I'll invite everybody to dinner. I'll do all. Why not meet so-and-so? This is so-and-so. This is a client of mine. This is a client of mine. It's a great way to network. Not only that, you're not talking about business. They're talking about what they do and they're sharing this, that, and another. But what a wonderful way to handle just the whole relationship situation. And that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, after sale follow up is important in continuing to build that relationship, because I think one of the things that we look for is we look for referrals from our clients. If we've done a good job, if we've provided a good service, if our clients are happy with what we've done for them, then they know and like and trust us, so they're going to refer us to their friends and family. It's a faster sale or a faster conversation when someone has referred you to somebody that they know, like, and trust.
Absolutely.
I know in real estate we do different things. Most of our clients in real estate are local. I mean, it's hard to sell a house. It's hard for me to sell a house to somebody in Ontario, or wherever. But around Abbotsford, I have most of my clients. So some realtors, what they do is they'll have a client appreciation party, which is like what you said. You'll go to an area and you maybe invite them everybody that or done business with out to dinner. That's a client appreciation party. We also do little pop buys, where you pop by and it's all about building a relationship and staying in contact with your client. And repeat business is the best business, I think.
Well, it's easy. It's an easy sell too, right? Because they already know the know, like, and trust thing is already taken care of.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've dealt with them. You don't have to go through all that. It's actually the return on your investment. If you want to put the business economic side to this, the return on your investment is so little, other than a few words and saying hello and, hey, this is what I think might work for you, just to put it out there.
Yeah, you just think about how much effort you had to put into getting to know that person and how much effort there was to do that. I liked what you were talking about, the buyer journey, a little while ago, but the buyer journey continues as they go on, because I know with house sales, the buyer of the house, especially if they're new to an area, they don't maybe know if you have a network of people that you can refer to them that can help them with the servicing of their house, that goes a long ways, because it takes a while in a community to get to know different trades, different individuals, and you want to know who can you trust. So how long is there a length of time that you should continue to follow up with your clients? Does that stop after 6 months? Does it stop after a year? Does it?
I don't think so for me. I mean, it depends on it's a two-way street, right? So if you're always contacting them and they're not contacting you for whatever reason, maybe it's the personality type. I don't know. But it may not mean that they don't like you, or that maybe they're just busy. So I still follow up. I call it a nurture campaign, where, I reach out once a month. I give them some content that I work on, and I just keep adding value, as much value as I possibly can. It's like I said in a post, see if I can remember this. If no matter what you bill out to a client, let's say, for example, they paid $100 for your product, you make sure you deliver at least double that in value, probably 3 times as much in value to them. And value can be a lot of different things. It can be inviting them to a special event they don't pay for. It could be a bonus. It could be just a whole variety of things, a free call that you do. networking event, whatever it is. You just have to add as much value as you possibly can. And maybe one of the things in the real estate industry, I'm just popping things off the top of my head, is, you could invite if they're new to an area, maybe invite them to introduce them to a network of people. I don't know. People they know in their neighborhood. I don't know. But, I just think that any time that you keep people engaged for whatever reasons, and you go out of your way to help them, the better it is for you and the better it is for them.
Donald Miller teaches a course he teaches about story. And I know we're going to have this as a session in the future. We're going to talk about story and how important that is in the journey. But you mentioned the buyer journey, and what Donald talks about is how in the journey the client is the hero and we're the guide. So it's our responsibility to guide them through that journey. And I think it's important to remember that, that the journey doesn't end, necessarily when the sale is finished. There's after sales follow-up. That's very important and beneficial not only for yourself as the salesperson, but also beneficial to the buyer or whoever, the user of the product. And that's, I think, the focus needs to be on, where's the benefit for them.
It is important. It's a huge thing because not enough emphasis is done. I remember when we were being trained in the boat business on customer follow-up and stuff. They wanted us to follow up a minimum of 8 times. There's these statistics out there that tell you, if you're following up with people, with the chances of them saying yes after so much time. Well, there's some science to that, but I choose to look at it as simply this. You can choose the science and say, hey, statistically speaking, minimum of 8 calls, like if you're talking to someone, really puts an impression in their mind. I just choose to look at it as, we're, like we've said before, we're in the people business, right?
Yeah.
You keep in touch with people. The more you keep in touch with them, the better it is. But for God's sakes, if you say you're going to do something, you do it. So if you say you're going to call them in like 3 days at 10 a.m., call them in 3 days at 10 a.m. That's the biggest no-no is not doing what you say you're going to do. That's the biggest problem. So if you tell them you're going to follow up on Tuesday at 11 a.m., then you make sure you're on the call at 11 a.m. on Tuesday.
So there's follow up and there's follow through. So you got to have the follow through in your follow up. Well, thanks, Greg, for this conversation, and I look forward to our next one. And I look forward to our next conversation, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. We'll see you guys.